And let there be sound. Hello, everybody. My name is Kirby Kwan Jr., and you are currently tuning into the Ghetto Fabulous Podcast. Joining me today will be a revolutionary icon in the arts. We have Mr. George V.
George V.
Is that not what?
No, it's not.
It's not, okay. Okay, well, yeah. So let's talk about how you got into arts. So when you was a child, like what was your major influences when you grew up that really like showed people like what you could do? Who were some artists that you draw from as a kid?
I don't really like my childhood because I had no parents. I was an orphan. I was raised by wolves. So I don't really like to talk about it, but...
You were raised by wolves?
Yeah. No, not wolves. Donkeys.
That's not funny.
Why are you laughing? That's my childhood.
Because
are you mocking my childhood?
It sounds suspiciously similar to Dr. Doofenshmirtz, who was abandoned by his family and then raised by ocelots in Phineas and Ferb.
What's Phineas and Ferb?
It's like this TV show on Disney about like these.
I have a feeling you're mocking me. I don't appreciate it.
Well. Anyways, let's move on to the next question. How did you get involved with our network when it came to filming your documentary series that only had one episode planned from the 65?
What are you talking about? I never had a documentary series.
It was the one where you locked us out initially for some reason when we first greeted you.
Yeah, that wasn't me.
It wasn't you?
It wasn't me.
Then who was it? He looked exactly like you. If not, you look exactly like him.
I don't care. It wasn't me. I was raised by donkeys. I don't know what a camera is. I just know art.
So do you think you do art or you make art?
What's the difference? Art comes from within, and I feel without art, I wouldn't be alive.
So what is your next project that you have coming up?
I have a lot of projects. Maybe there's some that I can't talk about. It's sort of confidential, but there is one I'm pretty proud of, and it has to do with the situation right now. There's a little virus. I think it's like a Heineken beer virus or something. But yeah.
You mean Bud Light beer virus?
No.
Coors Light beer? Nah.
No.
Tsingtao virus? Dude, I actually can't do this. All right, so little skit aside, jokes aside, as you can see, we actually like upgraded the studio a little bit more. And joining us is not George V, it's actually Patrick. Initially, we planned to have like the first half be him in character as George V, but this is getting more and more ridiculous. How are you actually doing today, though?
I'm good. Yeah,
closer, please.
Yeah, the virus, the real virus, it's sort of it's taking a toll on everyone, and as much as I like staying at home, I'm introvert by nature. I do feel like...
What do you sound more like George V now than you did before?
I'm just a shit actor, man. Sorry.
Well, shit. All right.
Yeah. I do want things to just go back to normal, like get back to schedule, go back to work, hang out. Other than that, it's been all right, just relaxing at home, not doing much.
Conversely, I actually prefer this because I like getting paid for no reason with EI. And of course, through EI, I was able to do something productive with it, like set up this shit.
Well, it's really like how you take in the situation, I guess. You could be like productive, like as you are being right now. Also, it can be like a lazy bum and not do anything.
I mean, technically speaking, I am also being a lazy bum at the same time. I'm literally sitting here and not really doing anything.
Well, like, it depends on who you ask, I guess.
That is true.
This could be seen as doing nothing. Personally, I just see it as hanging out, but it is what it is, You gotta take what comes comes to you.
Yeah. Because the thing about like, you know, the whole entire like situation being locked down is I realize like I have the potential now, since this room is more or less cleared now, I finally get to work on this room and kind of like be more productive and shit. Because I don't know if you know about this, but like for the longest time, the reason why I was on hiatus on my own YouTube channel was because my great aunt, for some reason, like was staying over here from Montreal. And, you know, I love her and everything, but she literally did overstay her welcome. So it was like, now I couldn't do anything.
I think she did some other stuff too, but...
Yeah, she also stole my freaking like eyeglasses case, but that's another story for another time. But yeah, so ever since she left, I was like, I need to work on this room to make it like completely studio-ish to the best of my ability. And that does two things, of course. One, it increases the workflow in this room, and then two, it kind of acts as like a foolproof plan so that she doesn't live here again. I feel like maybe I should not have gotten a futon then, and maybe just got a regular couch instead. So just so that she doesn't have the option to do so. But yeah. What have you been doing like at home lately? Have you been doing anything productive at all? Writing music?
No, I've been a lazy bum.
Oh shit! Okay.
No, but I've been taking this time to just relax for the most part. I had a lot of time to think about stuff, you know. So like, thought about my future, where I want to be, my relationship, stuff like that. It's like, I feel like it's a good time. If you're not doing anything, you might as well reflect your choices, where you want to be, you know, some self-inspiration, I guess.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like that's important. Because like for me, the first thing I did when I was in lockdown was I pretty much just went in and like built as far as I could with like cosplay and stuff until I ran out of materials, and then I stopped. So then, like for those who didn't know, I also run like a second channel, and I basically am like the main editor there, but then the contributing members were also unable to like keep up with like their progress and send me footage to edit and stuff. So basically, eventually, even though it is nice to be in lockdown, the problem was eventually time and lack of materials or whatever will like catch up to you. So that's why I decided to do stuff like this. I went ham at IKEA yesterday and actually built all this shit yesterday. So yeah. Let's talk about sort of like your involvement with this channel from the early conceptions. Cause like, obviously this channel, I don't know exactly what's happening with this channel and also like where it's going and what it's become necessarily. But like, how did you first get involved when it comes to like meeting myself, William, Kevin, and like the weird projects that we had from the beginning? Because we briefly talked about this with Kevin in the previous episode, but I don't know if Kevin is like podcast shy or whatever, but he really didn't say much.
Well, I can sort of relate to Kevin. Like, I never imagined like being part of your YouTube channel or whatever. Like, I know you always like wanted to do videos and stuff like that, but personally, I didn't really like see the interest in it. But like I met you guys a few years ago. Like honestly, like it's been over 5 years now, approximately.
Well, you and I met like 2013, if memory serves.
Yeah, like we personally met like before like all the other guys.
Yeah. But
I remember, I think the first video I helped you on, it's like way back. I should even remember it, but I remember we were at a park and you told me to do some like stunts or whatever.
And Kevin was late.
And most of the time I was just laying on the ground as a dead guy, which was, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's a good experience for you, bro.
Good experience, good acting experience. Staying still.
Wow. It was 2015. It was 2015. It was the flashback sequence. That's what it was. Hilariously, Kevin told this is when we first have like a documented sort of the first time we documented the fact that Kevin is always late. So what happened was he told us, all right guys, come here at 1. All right, don't be late. All right, cool. So then we all show up at like 12:45, and then we call up Kevin and he's like still sleeping.
Yeah, actually, now that you mention it, I think for half the day we were just at the park and we were just messing around.
Yeah, because
like,
we were waiting and shit.
How long was it? 2 hours or something? 2-3 hours? It's pretty long.
2 hours, I would say.
Yeah, and then he came and then started, and after that, I was just laying on the ground. So
Yeah.
in my opinion, it was sort of a waste of a day, but you live and learn.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, I didn't want, like, say, like, you should be, like, making YouTube videos, like, necessarily. More like just uploading, like, music and shit.
Well, like, for me, I always, like, enjoyed music, like, making music, playing music, but, I see it more as a hobby rather than something that I want to put out to the world, So,
Okay.
I enjoy just making music in my room just to make music, it's fun.
Mm.
And same thing with, like, video making, like, I feel like I enjoy helping you and your channel, but for me, like, I feel like it doesn't matter if, like, 100 people see this video or, like, 1,000,000. I feel like it's just fun making it,
Mm. Yeah. Because we were, like, in talks for potentially doing a sequel to the George V mockumentary, I guess, but, like, done up in a different style. I don't know if I could talk about the details about it just yet, but, like, we were thinking about doing something with that character, because technically speaking, that is, like, the only character that we have that's, like, fully original, so to speak, and, like, has potential to expand and shit, but, like, we haven't figured out a proper story for that yet. But what did you let's talk more about the George V thing, since the first half was supposed to be you as George V. Tell us about your involvement in that outside of just playing the character of George V, because in ways you created like a lot of, like, weird, like, idiocratic, like, aspects of that character. So how did you come up with that type of shit? Because you did some shit I've never seen before.
Well, like, if you compare me with the character, you can probably notice how, like, it's vastly different. Like, I don't think if you see that character and you speak to me in person, you probably wouldn't connect the two. But I think, like, I'm naturally a pretty weird person, even if I don't show it outside. Like, I don't know. I feel like everything on the video was, like, sort of how I feel on the inside sometimes.
Okay.
So it's just, like, bringing it out. But that character, it was fun to do, if not a bit embarrassing, to be honest. But,
I mean, you are doing some weird shit, like you're climbing up trees, you're calling out for birds that aren't there.
Yeah. Well, most of it was just for the sake of the video, to be honest.
Right. I would hope so.
But I think overall it was fun, and if we do something again, I wouldn't be opposed to it.
Mm.
But coming up with the character it sort of came, like, at a random time, random place. I remember you wanted like, another video idea, I guess, and it was you wanted to do some sort of skit, and I remember we were brainstorming, and we couldn't really pinpoint, like, an exact idea or, like, overall theme of the video, so we were just brainstorming, and I think it was Kevin, actually. He like, we were thinking of names for a character. And I just put out George, and then Kevin was, like, just naming colors or something. And I was like, what about green?
This is hilarious because I came up with George.
Oh, right?
It was
Okay.
me.
Well, someone came up with George.
I came up with George, and then I said some shit about George Forest Fire, George Green, George Earth. George
Okay, so
Tan.
I don't remember the story at all. But basically, we were just coming up with names, and we came up with the name George VERT or George V, which would have come later. And like, George V, it seems like an artist's name or something, like, so someone eccentric. So we were just walking around. I remember we were walking through, like a forest area near your place.
Yeah.
And we thought, like, maybe we could incorporate the nature and stuff. He's an artist that likes nature.
Yeah.
And it sort of just picked up from there.
So you're remembering a lot of things incorrectly.
Yeah, well, I guess that sort of has to do with the character, right?
I guess. So what actually happened was Kevin came up with this idea where he wanted to... He kind of pushed, because I wanted to do one too, but he pushed for, like, we should probably do another, like, short film or skit, and I'm like, that's great. At the time I was working, like, for, like, I was working on, like, a proof of concept for a documentary, and then Kevin said, like, oh, why don't we do one about, like, an arrogant, like, bastard of an artist? I'm like, yeah, we could do that. And then he came up with Kevin wanted him to be like super stupid, but also like very, okay, for lack of a better word, he wanted him to be very, do I want to say it? Dumb. I'm bailing from that. He wanted him to be very dumb, but still very full of himself, right? So that was the general gist that Kevin laid out for us. And then most of it we first shot was like improv. Like you said some weird shit about, like Jesus himself said, if the tree is brown, then you're wood. Which I still don't know how the fuck he came up with that. And then we just kind of improv'd it and shot it. The funny thing is, Kevin is a legit screenwriter. Well, he's working towards being a legit screenwriter. He's in like university still. But Patrick actually came up with like a majority of like the written scripted parts of it.
Oh, well, the thing with that video is like it didn't necessarily have like a strict script that we followed. It was more like
that either.
What's that?
I don't think you could for something like that either.
Yeah, it was more like I came up with like key points for scenes that I wanted to do, and I sort of like improvised on the spot, and like obviously it sort of comes off as improvised through the actual video.
Yeah.
But yeah, we came up with key points. I improvised on the spot, and it just turned out how it did.
You became George.
Yeah, in a sense, I guess. Like I love like series like The Office and stuff, where it's sort of like a mockumentary style, where like it follows a certain person at the time, and it seems like it's a serious concept, but all the characters are obviously so ridiculous and unbelievable sometimes. And I felt like I wanted to sort of bring that idea into this video.
How would you say, like, because the first thing that you were a part of that actually worked, because you were part of a few things, but like they didn't work, and we don't really talk about them often. But the first one that did work was what was it called? Graveyard Shift, the Halloween video. Mm-hmm. But the funny thing was, there's this funny ass shot where Kevin turns around, Patrick's supposed to be right next to him, but you were already like on your way to Taiwan or whatever at the time.
Yeah.
So that's like the funny thing. So because because we knew of Patrick's pending descent, departure, descent. We knew that we had to shoot like it quick. That's why it was as rushed as it was, and the audio was not clean or anything like that, and I didn't have time to correct it properly. Do you think we should? No, we should, but an assumption that we did have proper time to film it. How do you think the result would be different for that? Or actually, first things first, we should perhaps talk about how the fuck we even came up with that shit.
Obviously, it's a SpongeBob parody. If like people who watched that didn't understand that, but I think it was Kevin. He wanted to do like a SpongeBob parody or something, right? And then,
from what I understood, after we did the Smoke and Mirrors video that we don't talk about, Kevin wanted to do a horror, right? And I'm like, I'm kind of down for that. I don't mind. But we just didn't have an idea. It was me, Kevin, and William. We were at his place and we were like brainstorming ideas. And then like eventually we just started like tossing like some bullshit ideas. Like William kept on making the joke, yo, we should do shotgun face. So that's where that initially started. And that was like way back. And then finally we decided to bring on like Patrick. Maybe he could generate some ideas, and then that ended up being a SpongeBob parody.
Yeah, I guess that's how it came about. Going back to your previous question, I actually really liked how that turned out.
Yeah. Even
though it did seem like a bit amateurish, but that sort of has to do with the feel of the video, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, I feel the most important thing with these videos is that we should be having fun, and it's supposed to be a fun process. If that's not happening, then I feel like it won't be successful, you know?
Especially with like the more comedic ones. Like it only makes sense for that to be the way it was, which is why we shot Georgieva on the fly with like no script at all. And then the funny thing about Graveyard Shift is we had the script, and it was always on screen. It was always on our laptops. That's why we had our laptops there. But what else do you think? Like maybe what else would you personally be interested in experimenting with, with like these skits now that we have like infinite time?
I feel like we can sort of explore new themes, I guess. Like we did a comedy video, like a mockumentary style. I feel like we can, I don't know, explore other genres, I guess.
Different horror, like Shotgun Face.
Yeah, we can do an actual horror, or like, there's so many things, so many genres, so many like ways of filming. I feel like we haven't explored yet. So, it'd be nice to try to do some of those in the future.
What would you like personally like to try?
I don't know. At this point, like, I feel like we explored a lot of comedic like ideas. So something more like that has a serious tone, I guess, would probably be the logical next step, in my opinion.
Okay. Because like the only other idea that we tried that ended up being something else was we wanted to do like this live action anime thing, and well, in case you haven't figured it out, it was kind of like implied in the way that we shot it, like the tone. It ended up being Back to School, A Whole New Meaning with William, but the thing that I noticed when it comes to our track record, there's like two films, so to speak, that are like mostly silent films. The one where William gets bullied and the one where William gets kicked out of school. And then the two that involves a lot of like, that actually has a lot more dialogue and shit, that would be Graveyard Shift and George VERT, right? And it's funny because like, we're not very like we don't have pro tendencies. We're not really professional with the way that we operate. We always improvise with like dumb shit, right? Like I said, like George VERT was more or less completely improvised. In fact, Back to School, A Whole New Meaning, we actually, you weren't there, so this is news for you too. We didn't even know what the fuck we were doing. Every single thing that we did was on the spot in that one day. So we really challenged ourselves because it was also for like an assignment at school for Kevin and myself. But like if you were to sort of like rate what video, whether you've been a part of it or not, is like your favorite and why, which one would that be from our track record?
Favorite? Probably. I really like the overall feeling of Graveyard Shift. I felt like that video was like, I don't know, it felt like more personal, I guess. Just like us making a video being stupid. Because
it is based off of the fact. It's literally almost like a line for line rewrite of what actually happened when we were brainstorming it until the more like supernatural part.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I always like those kind of videos where it feels like very homemade, very personal. Yeah. Rather than trying to be all professional and everything. Because I feel like going in that direction, I don't know, it feels like it feels not as attached, it's not as personal, and I feel like I can't really connect to it as much. But something like Graveyard Shift, I feel like it was more like, it was just us on camera and doing whatever, just being stupid,
Okay, somewhat unrelated, but what did you think about the way that Kevin was dressed in that video?
How was he dressed again?
So you and I, and this was totally an accident, you and I were basically wearing completely all black, almost like how we are now, actually. And then Kevin was wearing like a really multicolored flannel, and then with like a Hatsune Miku shirt and the hat.
Well, I just like, it's his personality, I guess. It's sort of like, it might have not fit with the video, but it's just who he is, and I feel like that adds to the homey feel, I guess.
So I don't think it would have been that bad if Patrick and I were dressed differently. But the reason as to why we had to shoot it like that was because we because we initially shot like a proof of concept type of thing, which was Kevin's initial monologue. And then Patrick said, okay, I actually got to get going like to Taiwan, and like, fuck, I guess we're trapped. We have to be wearing these outfits for the remainder of the shoots and shit. So that's why Kevin ended up looking so out of place, because it just so happens that like Patrick and I were wearing all black in the video. So that's how that happened. So right now we're going to go ahead and actually take a quick break. And when we come back, we're actually going to talk about a potential Graveyard Shift 2, as well as a potential George VERT 2. So stay tuned. All right. And we are back. So second half of the podcast, we're going to be talking about potential remakes or sequels to some of the bullshit that we've done. So I guess like to first like toss you like a bit of a curveball. Do you remember that the first time that we covered a song, we were actually in the same room, but on that side of the room?
Yeah, it turned out pretty shit, to be honest.
What?
Well, like for me, I was really nervous. So like even on camera, I couldn't really look up because I didn't like looking at the camera.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I was nervous, so I didn't play the best. Like you could probably hear all the mistakes, but no, it is what it is.
Well, I mean, we could do it different. We could do it again now and like properly and shit too.
True.
This looks a lot better. Why do I need to get into the habit of closing these back up. I keep on forgetting. But yeah. Let's say we were to do that. You know, technically speaking, I just realized we actually had like a prime opportunity. We had the prime opportunity to do it today.
Today?
We could have, I guess. But yeah. So, but yeah. Before we jump into the potential like future project, so to speak, you actually resigned from your workplace like damn near like right before it opened back up, right?
Yeah, like from what I said before, I had a lot of time to think and felt like I wasn't really growing in that position. So I thought like I might as well try something new, and that's what I'm doing now.
So moving on from that, like, okay, so let's talk about the stupid idea that we had for Graveyard Shift 2. So it starts off with the reveal that at the end there wasn't any ghost. It was just William fucking with us. He would be the one that's revealed to be like flickering the lights on and off because he got annoyed with us that we didn't take Shotgun Face seriously. So that resolves the first one, so to speak. But the actual story of the second one is so stupid. So I don't exactly fully remember what it was about, because ultimately the closest thing to a working draft that we had was mildly convoluted. But it was kind of almost like a somewhat parody of a Scooby-Doo type of thing, where like we go around finding these different clues, and then we hear to solve the legend of Eduardo Tortellini, which I don't even know how we came up with that. If memory serves, I think I kept on saying Eduardo, and then didn't you say Tortellini? Who came up with that?
I don't know. It could have been me or Kevin. We're both like SpongeBob fans, so
yeah. So we kept on saying like, what is the conflict here? So then fucking Kevin was like, the conflict should be he loses something that is completely irreplaceable for him, but it needs to be something that when missing is spectacular, like it's unbelievable, something deeply personal to him. And I'm like, he fucking loses his piano. His whole piano fucking disappears. And that's like the real mystery. We never wrote enough of it to solve how it happened or what happened, like how Eduardo Tortellini lost his piano. But the only thing I remember that was like insane that like I knew we could not film was Eduardo Tortellini gets kicked off stage and then mauled to death because as an extreme reaction to no music. But I legit have I remember we tried to shoot it.
Did we?
Yes.
Was I there? I don't remember.
You were there.
Yeah,
but you were pissed though.
Was I?
Yes, because like time was being wasted because Kevin was late.
I legitimately don't remember this.
I can remember this. The reason why I remember this is because you just came back from Taiwan. It was either the Christmas video. I don't know, but I remember. No, it was Great Shift 2. You just came back from Taiwan, if memory serves, and then I remember you carried like a tripod, like over to the school to shoot. And then I vividly remember doing this where like there was this one shot where I forget what you were supposed to say. It was supposed to be like a reveal shot, but you were just so out of it. You're like, nah, dude, I'm done. I'm like, all right, let's go.
Yeah, I don't remember.
You remember that? I remember it because I shoot everything, so that's why I remember it. But yeah, I remember that we shot it right after class, as in like me and Kevin had a class together. We shot it right after that, and we never finished it because I think even the day of, like, that's when we were writing that script. Like, if memory serves, you weren't there for this because we had class, but while we were taking notes, Kevin was actually working on the script as we spoke with it. It was weird because like we didn't get anywhere with it. But speaking of not really getting anywhere with it, we were planning to do a George VERT 2, as we call it, George VERT Part 2, for quarantine shit. So what man, what the fuck happened with that? I don't even know how to word this. Because we were all on board, but we could not figure out the story, so to speak. Although Kevin did come through with like the tightest title, though. He called it George V Part 2 Electric Boogaloo or some shit. I forgot what it was. Like super coronavirus 64. Super COVID 64. And shit. But yeah. I don't know what the fuck happened with that. What was your view of it? Or if you're uncomfortable with that, what would you have liked to seen story-wise for a George V?
I feel like the idea, like, it sort of came out of the blue. Like, we just wanted to do something else, and George V was, like, it went pretty well, so we thought we could just do another one.
Another one.
Yeah, basically. The story we came up with, it was alright. It wasn't the strongest. My problem was it was sort of, it didn't have a centralized idea, so it was sort of, like, everywhere. Sort of messy, in my opinion. And I remember we had like we had a meeting somewhat, and we sort of like came up with ideas, but it didn't really get like I didn't really do much progress with the script and everything.
It also didn't help that was like after a full day of like doing shit, and then it was at the end of the day, and then on top of that too, I didn't sleep the night before, so I was like extra exhausted.
Yeah, that meeting didn't really do much, I guess. And the story more or less stayed the same. It was still messy. Didn't really have a centralized idea. But I feel like we didn't really start it. It was just an idea we had. We had some points, some ideas, but we didn't really go through with it.
Because Kevin did like wanted to write. I guess he still wants to write like the initial script, but the problem was he was having classes and at a particularly bad school. Fuck it. So he didn't have time to fully commit to it, so he put it off to the side, which is fully understandable. I would do the same, probably not. I don't know, but completely just contradicted the fuck out of myself. But the thing was, when we did meet up and we were trying to like think of a plan for it, like we realized like, dude, we're fucking crazy. We're exhausted. We're delusional. Why are we doing this at this time? And was that like what, like 2 a.m. in the morning? 1 a.m., 2 a.m.?
Yeah, pretty late.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fucking crazy. And then we were also like deliriously hungry too. Or at least like some of us were. But yeah, what would you have liked to seen in a George V? Like what storyline or whatever would you base it off of?
Well, what we came up with was sort of parodying the current situation with the virus and everything.
Yeah, like the extremities of like people fighting each other over toilet paper and shit.
Yeah. The ideas we came were more or less sort of like really ridiculous, which I guess sort of fits with the idea of the video. I felt like it was sort of straying away from like the current situation and sort of losing its sense of realism, I guess. Yeah. I'd like to see more of like a centralized idea, like how I was saying before. I don't know, like we did the mockumentary style in the first one. Yeah. So I feel like we could sort of adapt that to this video, but because that's like with the current situation, I feel like I'd like to film it in more of like a found footage style. Yeah, like a first person, almost like that. Yeah.
So we didn't, because Patrick and I talked about this briefly before the podcast. We didn't think of an idea, but we certainly thought of like the best ending, which I can't tell you guys, but that would have been like the most appropriate ending for this. And we haven't told Kevin this. I haven't told Kevin this either, but I'm pretty sure he'll love it too. It's fucking stupid. That's the thing. The dope thing about this character is we get to be as dumb as possible with him because there's no bounds. The only bounds is just it can't take the spotlight away from the character. It needs to remain true, so to speak. Because unfortunately, we did define him quite well. Like we fleshed him out quite a bit in the first one. But yeah, do you think we'll ever? Because I still want to do this. I don't know if you do or Kevin does. Do you think we'll ever do that live action anime parody thing?
If it comes to fruition, then I guess we could do it. But I'm not entirely in a rush to do it, to be honest. But I guess it would be fun to sort of explore that area again.
So something real funny to the viewers just watching or listening to this. So I just had this set up yesterday. It looks and works immaculately. And then I just got a text from my boss telling me, hey, so we're going to open back up on Wednesday. So fuck, man. But yeah. Yeah. I'm not ready to go back to work. I'm not ready to take the disgusting TTC and sweat the fuck in it. I'm not ready for this shit.
Like, I understand that like Canada's lifting its restrictions for some things, but in my opinion, it's a little bit too early, especially since a lot of the people aren't following social distancing. Yeah. A lot of people aren't wearing masks or protecting themselves. Yeah. So I feel like if everything's opening, like now, especially since like it's sort of like in a precarious stage, I feel like it could be like a second
like reemergence or whatever.
Yeah.
What do you think about those dumbasses who are like, oh, I don't want to wear a mask and shit like that? They say that like it's a fucking struggle.
I mean, like, I understand that you have like your own decision and you can do whatever you want, but it's not just affecting you, you know, it's affecting everyone else in like around you. And
I just feel like objectively it's stupid. Like, bro, what is so difficult about having a sheet of fabric over your face?
Well, like, I guess it's not entirely the individual's fault. It's more like a cultural thing, because here in the West, like a lot of people aren't used to wearing masks, especially going outside with the masks, because it's not in the culture, you know, like whereas in Asian culture, like Taiwan, Japan, China, all those places, like even if you have a cold or you feel a little bit sick, you'd wear a mask just for like a social like
distance.
not social distancing. It's like, I can't find the word, but like it's just
etiquette.
Yeah, social etiquette. You'd wear a mask just so you wouldn't spread your sickness to other people. But here, that social etiquette isn't ingrained in the culture.
Well, the other thing too is like, honestly, like there's people like me who just wear that shit sometimes because it looks cool, especially if you have like a fucked up looking face like mine. But the weird thing is like the quote unquote objective argument that I hear from a lot of people who don't want to wear the mask is because, oh, I have a tough time breathing with a mask on, and it's like, the fuck you mean, dude? It's a thin sheet of fabric over your face. You can't breathe through a thin sheet of fabric out of your face.
I mean, like a little bit of discomfort for a temporary amount of time is better than like being sick and like having the risk of, you know, dying.
Yeah,
it's a small sacrifice in my opinion.
Yeah, death or discomfort. That is really the name of the game. I'd probably choose death. I'm joking. My life is pathetic. I'm joking. Oh shit. But yeah, yeah, it's crazy because I am going back to work and I do work retail. I am like kind of cautious about that. Like I don't really know how I feel about this. I haven't spoken to my boss and like other coworkers about this because I literally just got the news in the break. Kind of nervous. I'm not gonna lie, because like, what if there's like disgusting motherfuckers that are like, you know, not wearing the mask and they're like openly picking their nose with no gloves on and shit. Just, you know, like, terrible hygiene.
In that situation, I guess it's sort of your responsibility to keep yourself safe, you know. Keep distance from them, wear a mask, wear gloves if you must.
Yeah.
It's nothing you can really do if they're not following the...
Unless we place like a rule of like no mask, no entry. Which I don't know if that's going to happen. I need to speak to my boss about
Well, even some malls, like, they have, like, security guards or, like, people guarding the entrances.
Yeah.
And if you're not wearing a mask, then they can just deny you entrance, right?
Yeah. Do you know what's actually fucking funny? I love seeing this when people, they have the mask on, but they haven't worn, like, a beard type of thing.
Yeah.
So they do technically have a mask, but it's literally hanging there. It doesn't do anything. And it's like, what is the purpose of that, dude? You know what's actually fucking disgusting though?
God.
People who after they're done shopping at like a Costco or a Walmart or whatever, they toss their mask into the carts and just leave it there. Same thing with the gloves. It's just like,
I haven't actually seen that, but I'd imagine seeing that would be pretty gross.
It's just terrible, like, hygiene and shit. Like, dude, you've been breathing onto this thing. Like, just fucking toss that out, dog. And we don't know what kind of nastiness you might be doing too. Like, what if you sucked dick before you went into Costco, bro? I don't want to touch that shit. But yeah, shit like that kind of, I don't want to say triggers me necessarily. You know what? Fuck it. Yeah, it triggers me because it's like just the most natural thing that the most easiest way to like avoid shit spreading. Let me just not do it. Yeah. The worst thing that bothers me about people like that is like sometimes it's easier to just do nothing than it is to do something, depending on how stupid you are. Because like, for example, right, if you don't want to wear the mask, just don't go outside.
True, yeah.
But they're like, no, man, like I could go outside now. It's like, yeah, but what are you doing outside? I don't know.
I mean, in the ideal situation, the best strategy would be to stay inside.
Yeah.
I feel the only reason you should go outside are for like necessities, like groceries and stuff like that.
Then they say shit like, oh, but I just want to get some fresh air. I'm like, you can still get some fresh air at like your lawn or balcony, bro. You don't need to go outside and disrupt like the hygienic safety of everybody else and shit. Yeah. You working at the place that you used to work, you wouldn't have had this issue though, right? Because you're back of house.
I mean, like, you can. There's always an issue everywhere where there's other people. Like, as long as one person isn't like following the
code,
yeah. Health code, I guess.
The COVID code. That actually sounds sick.
Then you're always going to be at risk. Like I said, the best protection is just to protect yourself. You know, wear a mask, keep distance.
You almost make it sound like UFC. Protect yourself at all times. Have a clean fight. Touch gloves if you want.
Yeah, well, that's just like my viewpoint on the whole situation. Just keep yourself safe.
I don't know if it's because I'm ghetto. Like, you know, it sounds like, so what Patrick is secretly trying to do is make sure that you're always packing heat so that if mans are like coughing on you, just like unload the strap.
It's the hand sanitizer.
And a super soaker. Dude, if that goes into somebody's eyes, bro, they're done. Oh shit, we should do that. Dude, if my store would allow me to do that. Man.
There's actually, I was going to a grocery store the other day, and the person at the front had like a hand sanitizer, but it was in a spray bottle. So he was spraying people's hands with the hand sanitizer.
That's close to a gun. I mean, the nozzle, right? I don't know. It's crazy. But man, I don't really know if I'm going to go back to work because like a majority of us are Asian. So like, I don't know if we're going to get that racist shit going around. I did just say racist shit. I don't know if we're gonna get that racist shit going on in my workplace. I here's the thing, right? A part of me, I always say I do not like confrontation, so I don't ever want to be in it. But at the same time, it's like I've been growing more and more clever with my comebacks. So, you know, like I kind of want that to happen to me so that I could fake cough on somebody finally and use that joke. But I don't know. What would you do in a situation like that? Let's say you were in a situation like that. Let's say that you're working retail. Everybody in the store is Asian that works with you, and then like some one racist motherfucker comes in and says some shit about like COVID and Asians. What the fuck would you do?
Personally, like,
cough on that bitch.
I feel like I understand that a lot of people would be offended, and I would be offended too, but it's not worth causing a big scene and potentially like endangering others just for your own sense of pride. Yeah. I understand that people shouldn't be saying that, and there are times when you should be able to speak up and voice your opinion. At the same time, you have to use discretion, and like, if it's not worth it, then it's not worth it. Just ignore them, like ask them to leave. If it comes down to it, then you can call someone that would better handle the situation, like a security guard. Yeah. If it comes down to it, if that doesn't work, then you can call the police.
I think my ratchet ass would know that would be the right thing to do, but still choose not to for some reason. I feel like I would either go full blast and like verbally murder them, or I would do something stupidly passive aggressive about it and annoy the shit out of them. Like I might just chase after him, fake coughing, like and sound like Kawhi Leonard as I do it, just like the whole way through and see if they leave.
I mean, there are pros and cons to like every like situation and how you want to deal with it. like even the way I approach it, for me, that would seem like the logical way to approach that situation.
To cough on rants?
No, like just to like use your discretion and
okay.
See whether or not it's worth making like a big scene. But at the same time, some people might argue that that's the reason why a lot of the times the Asian community isn't the Asian community is targeted for in these situations. It's because they don't normally stand up for themselves. But I feel like at the same time, it's also good to just protect yourself in that sense, because if you do cause a huge scene, you risk endangering yourself and the other people around you, because it's such a big situation now. Damn, rather than just diffusing the situation to begin with.
Out of everyone in our friend group, you're like technically the least Chinese. I think you sound the most Chinese when you speak. Confucius. That's the only thing that was missing, is like, oh my God, you sound like an Asian dad. Nah, but you're right. Ultimately, the best way to solve any issues, as I always say, is think of it purely objectively first before you commit to anything. With that said, though, sometimes you just gotta fuck somebody up. That's the problem with me, man. Like, it's not so much the problem with me is I do think objectively, but then at the same time, I know that objectively I have like a lot of firepower behind what I could say. Cause I like to talk shit too. I can't even lie, but like, I'm good at it. That's the problem. And knowing that I'm good at it, like, gives me this weird arrogance sometimes, where like I will not hit you, but I will defend myself in a way where you will remain silent for the remainder of your existence. Like, for example, this is gonna be the last thing before we wrap this up, because we're running low on time. One time there was this one lady, right, who I guess like has like a bit of like an eye issue. Like she has like one hell lazy eye. It's so lazy it's almost asleep type of thing. So she was complaining to me, saying how like, what, don't I get like an additional 20% off with like my membership? I'm like, no, not on this particular product, because it's on a specialty markdown, right? Or no, it was on a specialty deal, right? And she's like, yo, this is ridiculous. How could this be? I'm like, and then I'm like, this is just the way it is. She's like, I want to speak to a manager. And I was like, at the time, a part-time assistant manager. So I'm like, all right, let me go get him. Yeah, so I just spoke to him, man. And it doesn't work out. And then she's like, wow, really? I'm like, yeah, I guess we just don't see eye to eye on this topic. And then she's like, okay, give me your name. Give me your name. I'm gonna make a complaint telling that you won't give me my fucking sales. So my arrogant ass, and you should never do this, I fucking gave her my name, my employment number, my position, and everything, and everything. And I think I even included my personal phone number. I'm like, I expect an apology from this. Like, I was like, no one should ever do that. But I think I did that like only once, and then immediately I'm like, fuck, I just gave this bitch my number. Next time she's gonna get a spam call, she's gonna tell the Chinese people to call me now. But yeah. Anyways, what are some closing thoughts that you have in regards to this Super COVID 64 situation?
Is that what it's called now?
That's what we're calling it.
Just stay safe, you know. Just
stay alert.
Stay safe. Exactly. Stay safe, and hopefully it'll end soon. Probably not, though.
Nice. Spoken like a true Chinese man once again.
Well, as long as there are people out there that aren't like taking like precaution when going outside, and it's always gonna like continue until like a vaccine is invented and distributed to the public. You know. Do you want to be? I feel like there's gonna be some racist bastard who's gonna see that vaccine and then realize it was made in China, and then they're gonna refuse to take it. That'd be hilarious. They die on their own like discretion. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyways, Patrick, where could we find you on social media and shit? I'm not on social media, actually. Nice. Anyways, it's private, so I keep my. Oh, is it actually? Yeah. Oh, okay. Just keep my privacy safe, in a sense. Anyways, this concludes this episode of the Ghetto Fabulous Podcast. Don't forget that you could follow this podcast on multiple platforms, of course, native to YouTube here, where you could see our visuals, his pretty face and my ugly one. You can also listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Cast, Breaker, RadioPublic, and so much more. So make sure to follow that, as well as subscribe to this channel. You can find me personally on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud at Kirby Kwan Jr. That's KirbyKwanJr. And until next time, take care, everybody. Stay safe. Don't cough on motherfuckers unless they call you a Chinese motherfucker.